Hi everyone, I'm Wendy Sachs and I am a member of the board of Plant Powered Metro New York, and I'm here to welcome you to our ongoing series and cooking demo with our beloved Chef Carole. You've already been told to mute your lines, beautiful. So Plant Powered Metro New York is a community-based organization committed to the collective health empowerment through whole food, plant-based nutrition. It's an evidence-based approach to nutrition that can prevent, treat, and even reverse some chronic diseases. While we normally prefer to offer live sessions to build community around health and nutrition, we're offering this program as part of our web series during the season of COVID-19. So we're very glad that you've come to learn and to connect with us today. The way we'll organize it is Carole will demonstrate for about the first 45 minutes, and then we'll handle questions in the chat, or in the last 15 minutes, we'll ask her live. So let's see, I think I've covered all the main thing. And yeah, just so you know, we're also streaming live on Facebook, and that's it. I think we're ready to go. So, Chef Carole, what do you have for us today?
Welcome to my kitchen, and I'm so happy for those of you that continue to return. It just makes my heart just pitter patter for real. And you know, it's doing this is like throwing a party or an event. You wonder if anyone's going to come, or two people are going to come, but no matter what, the show's going to go on. So I'm excited that you're here. Of course, I wish that all of you were really here so you could taste and smell and enjoy at my table with me. But at this point, when we're all social distancing, this is the best. So I am going to make us brunch actually today, and it's loosely based on Mother's Day coming up next Sunday. And so that's kind of the plan, and we're going to make a herb and chickpea pancake with vegetables, and then we're going to make a tofu scramble with mustard potatoes. So we're not doing any real baking today. I know a lot of you like that from me, but today is all about just brunch and the simplicity of brunch, okay? And I don't know about you, but I love having vegetables in the morning. It makes me feel so good. I'm definitely that sweet person that wants to have a muffin or a little bit of something else, but the savory breakfast is a-okay. So what we're going to do to get this started is we are going to get a cup of chickpea flour. So these chickpea pancakes that I'm calling pancakes really have a real name, and it's called Socca, S-O-C-C-A, and that name, you can find Socca in the south of France, but the Italians also claim Socca under a different name called farinata, and they claim that it's their thing. So you can understand why those two regions claim the same meal. But basically, you're starting with chickpea flour, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So really, I'm putting 1 cup of chickpea flour in a very small bowl, and then I'm going to take 1 cup of water. Now I'm going to put like half of the water in at a time, because the ultimate thing is and I'm taking a small whisk, and you ultimately want to get it stirred and you want this batter to be lump free, okay? That's the ideal thing, okay? And I have to tell you, at this point, normally you would put olive oil in this if that's the real Socca and the real farinata. They put olive oil at this point, and they actually cook it in Nice, actually. When I went looking everywhere for Socca, I couldn't find it in any restaurant, and believe it or not, I ended up making Socca in the farmer's market of all places. And those who know that I love the farmer's market, I thought, how ideal was it to find this food? But it's kind of like street food, and they make it in these big wooden and then copper pans, and then they cut it up kind of like in lots of pieces, and they literally serve it to you like, here's some pancake, and it's street food basically. So, but today we're going to omit the oil and because it's really not necessary. And I've got this very smooth, but as you can see, it's very thick. And we really do need that full cup of water, okay? Sometimes I hold back because what happens, and ideally, if you're making this at home, I would recommend that you leave it sit for at least 15 minutes, and you could actually make this an entire day in advance. So if you were making it, let's say you made it at night and you were gonna have it for tomorrow morning's breakfast, you could just put this right in the refrigerator with a cover on it and take it out. The longer it sits, the better. It just, it's kind of like a crepe batters are like that too. It's just a better melding of flavors, but we're not gonna be waiting a long time for this. So within this batter now, at this point, you could almost do anything you want. You could put a little cumin, you can put a little, some chili flakes, you could put a little Tabasco sauce if you wanted it spicy, but we're gonna make it as a herb pancake. And I have got almost 1 cup of herbs here. I've got a lot of cilantro, I've got parsley, and this is not an herb, but I cut up scallions. If you had dill, you could put dill. If you had marjoram, you could put marjoram. If you had thyme, you could put thyme. But basically, you're gonna make a big green pancake, and this is all gonna go inside here like this. And we're going to get a spatula here, and we're just gonna give that, and it's basically gonna be like a green pancake, okay? And again, you can let this sit and you are ready to go. That is your batter, okay? Simple, 1 cup flour, 1 cup water, 1 cup herbs. I think you could repeat that many times and you've got the recipe. We're going to get a pan, and the best pan that you can use for this is a ceramic pan or a scan pan, something, a Teflon pan. Again, when you normally make soka, you actually put quite a bit of oil and then you pour the batter in and it kind of sizzles and the pancake would be cooking in all this oil. But we're not doing that because we know there's a healthier way to eat. And if you have a pan that is non-stick or ceramic, that's what you want to use. And you're going to turn on the light on the stove. And as you all know, I always tell you before you go putting anything in your pot, you always want to have it warm. If we were to pour it right this very second, the pancake, it would just be sitting in the pan. So ideally we want it to be warm. And how do we know when it's warm enough? You could actually put a few drops of water and it will just kind of dance around the bottom of the pan. But usually I would have had this pan on the stove maybe a few minutes ago. But we're just gonna slowly get ready here. So we've got that. And we've got our ladle, actually. This is a 1/4 cup ladle, and it's actually 2 ounces, and 2 ounces is a 1/4 cup. And I like making the pancakes small, so they're kind of like a taco, actually. They're like 8 inches big. This is a much bigger pan, but if you had an 8-inch pan, you could actually make it so that it fills the whole rim, you know, the whole bottom of the pan. But I'm gonna use 2 ounces, and I'll get probably 6 to 7 pancakes, depends, because sometimes I add a little bit of water. So that's what we're gonna get right now is a little extra water. First, we're gonna see if this pan is ready. Nope, and see, it's not hot at all. The water's not moving. We're gonna put that heat up just a little bit. It's starting to bubble now. Okay, we've got a good situation here. I'm going to get rid of that water. Okay. And we always have to get a plate that we're going to be putting these things on. And we have our water here because sometimes as this batter sits, it actually gets a little bit thick and you actually have to add water. And you'll say, how do I know? How do I know? You're going to know from that very first pancake when you pour it and how easily it moves in the pan. Again, this is not something you have to be so exact with. If you have it too runny, you'll know that it's just too runny, and you'll know when it's too thick because it won't move around in the pan. So let's just try this experiment one more time. Here, listen to the sizzle, sizzle. We're ready to go here. And the first pancake is always temperamental. If anybody does regular pancakes, you always worry, like, is that first one actually going to come out of the pan? So I'm going to take this here, and we're going to actually do two hands. We're going to hold this, and we're going to put this in the middle. We're going to put it in the middle, and we're going to shake it just a little bit. And we're going to kind of move it around so it becomes an actual nice 8-inch pancake. This piece of parsley is a little big, but we're going to cook that, and we're going to make a few of these so that we have ready to serve. And what else is going to go with this is we're going to also be cooking some broccoli to go on it, and we're going to have some roasted tomatoes, and we're going to have a little bit of arugula. So just kind of so you understand the whole plate. But let's get these going. How do we know when it's time to turn? We kind of lift it up a little bit, and I see that it's not brown and it's not even done. You see, it actually got stuck to the spatula, and that is me rushing things. So we have to be patient. Again, the first one always takes a little bit of time. It takes time to have a down pat for your pan to be the exact right temperature. And once you get that first one going, the rest of them kind of go do, 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 like that, one right after another. But it's always that first one that's a little bit in question. Again, if you like hot sauce, actually, this is the time I'd put a little bit of hot sauce on it. And cumin is delicious. So again, feel free to be a little bit ad lib. I'm just going to loosen this up and see what the situation is here. It's getting brown, slowly but surely. Not as fast as I'd like. I'm a little impatient. I think I'm that way naturally, but I think that we could almost probably start our broccoli because it's going to get that pan hot. So here in the back, I'm using cast iron pan. And all I've done for the broccoli is we're going to water saute that and put it in the pan and dry roast that. Usually I cut up a little garlic, but we don't need any more spicy things because the pancakes are very, very flavorful. So we're going to turn this now. Going to loosen it, turn it. Lost a few little bits, but you'll see the next one is going to be prettier. This one is pretty, but not perfect. But again, the first one is never perfect. I wish it was. I hope mothers don't feel that way about their children. The first one is never perfect, but that is how it is in cooking. The first one is always just a little temperamental. I love these pancakes. I think a lot of cultures besides Italians and the French eat them. I'm sure that Indian culture, they eat them as well because chickpea flour is a very common flour in Indian cooking. So honestly, they go with probably anything. Gonna look to see about the bottom. The bottom is lovely and brown, and I know it's done because I can safely pick it up. So now I know we're in business here. We have the right thickness. Let's get rid of these little few bits that we ended up with in this pan. And we're going to put this in, going to put it in the center, kind of wiggle it into shape. Again, perfect. It's already starting to have those air pockets that looks like crevices, little holes. That's how you know it's cooking. That almost tells you that it's cooking fast. Again, if you cook regular pancakes in the morning, same idea, little tiny holes that give you indication that things are ready to go. And I see little tiny holes all around here. If I had an aerial camera, I would bring you in close and show you. But you just have to trust me on this one. And I'm going to lift up, and I think it's going to be ready because It's going to be ready faster. And see, it's actually quite beautiful. You see it's brown and it looks good. It looks actually perfect. Again, it's the second one, not the first one. And we'll make a couple of them, and then we'll, in the meantime, we have our pan hot in the back. And if you've been with me for a little while, you know about water sauteing, and you can either water saute or use a broth. I have lots of stock always in my refrigerator, and this is just stock that I make from the leftover vegetables that I collect when I'm peeling potatoes, peeling carrots, peeling onions, and I'm always making stock on the stove, and then I put it away in a big jar, and this either goes into a pot of soup or it's part of my water saute. Okay, let's go back here. Do we know this side is done? It's done because I can pick it up and it's definitely brown on the other side. So we're putting that down. Again, sometimes this batter does get a little thick, I mentioned to you. And how do you know it's thick? If you're not being able to jiggle things around. Could we add a little water? We could add just a hair of water, but not too much. It's kind of like you just have to understand its consistency, but it definitely thickens up as time goes by. Okay, so we've got the back burner on right now, and we're going to start to cook this broccoli right this minute. While we're doing two things at once. Okay, we're going to start cooking this and move that there, and we're going to pour just a little bit. It's a little aggressive of me to have this big jar. I'm just going to splash that, and you can hear that sizzle, sizzle. You kind of want to get the broccoli. I'm going to kind of just, it's all in one layer in this very small pan. And it's just going to basically, it's not steaming. If I had a lid and I was putting a lid on top of it, it would be steaming. But right now it's just cooking. And it's my favorite way to cook with broccoli. This is getting turned over. And see, it's even browner than before, which means I can lower the heat just a hair. Just a hair. Okay, and we are almost ready for, soon ready for plating, almost. I do want to tell you what I have in the oven. I have some roasted tomatoes, and I recently discovered that canned tomatoes are really good roasted in the oven. There's a restaurant that I go to that just serves roasted tomatoes, and I've always tried to figure out exactly what they do, and I realized they're just canned tomatoes in the oven. So I'll show you those. We're going to top them, but basically I got a can of whole tomatoes, and I drained the liquid from it, which I have here in a little container, and I saved that tomato liquid. And then I just put the whole tomatoes on a piece of parchment paper, and I put some herbs on the top, some fresh herbs. You could put dried, you could put thyme and oregano, make an Italian spice if you'd like, but I put the thyme, and then I put the oven at 400 degrees, a very, very, very hot oven, and I just put the tomatoes in the very hot oven at 400 degrees, and I let them cook for about 30 minutes, okay? If they start to look dry for some reason when the tomatoes are cooking, you can actually do a little marinade, and because I did it in advance, I've been covering the tomatoes with a little bit of its sauce, and I just cover them. But you'll see when they come out of the oven when we're plating the whole meal. So let's just get this finished. We have to look at our broccoli here, and let's just see how the broccoli is doing. It's definitely cooking. It needs a little bit more broth because it's just in this pan, just cooking away. Okay, and make sure that's hot, and this is going to go here next. We have probably 2 more pancakes. We don't necessarily have to make all the pancakes, but I just want to show you that we're ending up, and we're just kind of stacking them up like this, okay? If you weren't eating, then, if you weren't eating, then.
Carole, I'm interrupting because your camera went off.
I see that. I see that.
Do you want to rejoin? There you go.
Nope, I'm fine. We're fine.
Great.
We're fine right now. We're fine.
Great.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. We had a technical difficulty. Thank you.
Yeah.
I should remember what my friend Mitch tells me. Mitch tells me to put the phone on airplane mode, and I forgot to do that, and I've done that before because that means that nobody can call in. So someone was calling me at that moment, which wiped my screen away. But all is solved when you tell them that you'll call back and you'll just decline the call. So this is we're almost
Carole?
here.
Yes. It just happened again. Do you want to just take a moment to put your phone on airplane mode?
Yes, I do.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so just, it shouldn't happen again. So here we go. Here's this. Okay, and one more pancake I'm going to get out of this, and then we're going to be done here because I'm ready to plate any moment. You can see we have one more, a little more batter, but I'm going to move on because we have two things to make. And I'm just going to make sure this, we're going to see how that broccoli is doing. It's doing very well. Almost done. Bright green. You don't want to overcook it. It's just, again, kind of sizzling in there. And this is ready to go. And you just kind of have to loosen it, giving it a little loose. Oops. And you can see you don't always, well, sometimes you have to save it. And there you go. So you don't have to make them so big as in 8-inch circles. You can make them as silver dollars and make a bunch of little ones. That's up to you. But we're getting ready to plate this right this very moment. So we're going to get a big plate here. And we're going to see how the broccoli is doing good. And we're going to, at the same time, we're going to get out of the oven the roasted tomatoes. And they look roasted and actually quite good. They look good. Again, these are the whole tomatoes. I just put them on a sheet pan, and I took the tomatoes out of the can, and I lined them all up and just put them in the oven. And I definitely put some thyme on them. And then I also threw in a bunch of cloves of garlic. I had them on the side. So we're going to put this down. Now, when you're putting this down, I tell you, you have to be really careful always, because I'm always thinking about the parchment paper and the flame on the stove. So where you're putting this, you have to be like super, super conscious. That is my like psychological fear, is that I'm going to one day catch the place on fire because I put this down and somehow the paper blew and created a fire. So very conscious of keeping the paper away from the top of the stove. Okay, so we have this one pancake left in this pan. I've turned the pan off. Okay, and we're going to just move this, and we're going to put the pancake down. Now, how many pancakes you want, it's really up to you, but I'm going to use 2 pancakes today, okay? So we're going to put 2 down. Now, I'm going to just arrange the vegetables around this. Let's just move this over here, and we're watching the broccoli because it's sizzling, and again, you always have to do a couple things at a time. If you want to season this, you could put a little bit of zest on this if you wanted to. It's not necessary because you have to remember the pancakes are super, super flavorful. Okay, again, this pan is hot, and I'm trying to remember that this is hot. I'm working in the littlest space possible here. And we are going to, that broccoli is almost done. In the picture, if you got the recipes, I actually showed you that I like serving it with avocado because in the morning, I like having a little bit of fat in the morning. But today we don't have any avocado, so I have some fresh arugula, and I'm just going to give it a rough chop, just a couple chops. Again, put that there, okay? And why do I use the tomato? See, this is all really dry at the moment. There's no dressing for the arugula. This is a dry pancake. The broccoli is somewhat dry, but as soon as the tomatoes go on and you cut it open, they kind of burst open and it kind of all gets to be one flavor. So I like ignoring my broccoli sometimes for a very few minutes, just so it gets brown, which is exactly what's happening right now. But it is done for certain. And how do you know that it's done? You actually look at it, it's bright, bright green. I can stick a fork in it easily. It's not hard, and it's perfect. It is absolutely perfect. So I carefully take this broccoli out, and again, presentation is everything. I just want to show you that I'm going to present this, and I'm going to put all of the broccoli. I'm going to put all the broccoli so that it's all going one direction. So I'm taking it out. And again, when I think about composing a plate, we all eat with our eyes. I know I say that every single time, but I just want to tell you that it's something that we all do it. We want it to be beautiful. It's not a work of art necessarily, but it definitely is something that you want to be arranging. And, you know, the other day I made a whole meal on just green food. But today we're thinking about how to balance. We have the arugula over here. We have this green here. We're getting ready to put the red tomatoes in the center.
Carole,
Again,
interrupting again. The camera is
sorry.
Yep.
Okay, we're okay. Thank you. So we're good here. So now we're going to take these tomatoes here, and we're going to put them here. Okay, and the tomatoes are going to go in the center. We don't need all of them, okay? We don't need all of them. For a little added decoration, I think I mentioned to you that we are going to be putting, I like putting the garlic. So when I roasted these tomatoes, the individual garlic cloves, I just threw on the tray and I roasted the garlic. So I'm gonna just open one up for you to show you what it looks like. It almost looks like a brown nut. Not quite sure that you can see that, but you can actually just eat it just like that, and it's to die for. Oh my God. Oh my God, oh my God. That on toast is just like, just everything. So what I'm gonna do, because I want a little more flavors, I'm just gonna smash these a little bit, and I just kind of put them on top of the tomato. Again, it doesn't have to be, if you don't like so much garlic, you certainly don't have to do this. This is just my adding flavor and adding decoration. And I want each one of those on top of the tomato. And let's see, I think I have one more for the small. And you might think, oh, that's a lot of garlic. But honestly, it kind of decorates each tomato. And you have got the salad. This is pretty much the done meal right here. The only thing that I want to show you also is I have a beet or two that I just happen to have, and we do have enough red. It's actually a very pretty plate, but I thought because I have these beets, I would just actually slice them. You could add anything if you wanted to add, a couple carrot strips, and you wanted just to decorate a little bit more, but you can never. I don't know. This is the part that I spend a lot of time on sometimes. It's just finishing off the plate. And that is really, this is a common, this looks like a lot of food, but it is a really delicious breakfast. Okay, so that is our entree number one. Okay, and we are going to now have that, leave our camera and move on to our second thing. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to first touch this pan, and we're going to make the mustard potatoes. And the mustard potatoes are a recipe that I have been using for, I don't know, 20 years. It's came from a book. It was called Rosie's, what is it called actually? It's called Rosie in the Kitchen, and it was actually, Rosie was Oprah Winfrey's chef, and she made this spa cookbook, and it was really low oils and low salt, low everything, and it was pretty good. It's a cookbook that I've never given up over the years. It's just a really special one, and the mustard potatoes come from that. So I just want to just rinse this, if you just don't mind. I have to just rinse this really fast for you. And I brought the most gorgeous little potatoes yesterday at the farmer's market, but you can use any potatoes, okay? You can use the little red potatoes, you can use the Yukon potatoes. If you want to use those big Idaho potatoes, you can, although I think they have no flavor, those big Idaho potatoes, for this kind of meal. But I bought these little tiny potatoes yesterday. They're called fingerlings, actually, if you can see them here. And they're really delicious. They're very special. They're all uniform in size, which I thought was good for when we're baking, because you don't want to have small bites and little bites, because we're going to bake it all on one sheet pan. So these are purple, little, they're often called Peruvian potatoes, but these are actually little fingerlings that are purple. There are rose-colored ones, and then there are just white ones. So I have gotten in a bowl, I actually cut a bunch of them ahead of time. And if you cut potatoes ahead of time, to soak them in water. Because if you just cut potatoes and you left them exposed, they would oxidize. So these potatoes have been sitting in this water for several hours now. Okay, so basically, I have those potatoes, but we're going to leave them there, and we're going to get our mixture made really quickly. And what we have for the mixture is I'm making a half a recipe, okay, because I don't need a full recipe, so I'm making a half. So I'm making 1 teaspoon of paprika. I have a half a teaspoon of cumin here. I have a half a teaspoon of chili powder, and I have a little bit of cayenne, okay, it's actually an eighth of a teaspoon. So all these spices just go into a bowl, okay? That's simple, okay? Then you're gonna need to get the mustard, okay? And ultimately, I use a really good mustard that's no salt, but these days when I'm shopping, if I'm out of something and I see it, I just buy it. And this happens to be Trader Joe's Dijon mustard, but you want just a Dijon mustard. And normally in this recipe, you would do a tablespoon of mustard. And I am going to use it's 4 tablespoons in a whole. So we need 2 tablespoons. So we need 2 tablespoons. And let me get the tablespoon over here. And we're going to take 2. So we're just going to dump that mustard right into there with those spices. Okay, just like that. Put this mustard back over there. And we're going to mix this up, okay? Again, no salt, no oil. This original recipe, the only oil that was in this original recipe was that they said when you put your potatoes on the sheet pan to spray it 3 times. But honestly, if you use parchment paper, you don't need to have any oil. Okay, so we're just getting all that mixture all stirred up, okay? Just all of that, okay? I have this napkin and this thing in my hand. Okay, so now we're gonna put our potatoes. Now my recipe, in the full recipe, calls for 16 small red potatoes, but honestly, you can do as many potatoes as you want. And what is the answer? How do you know how many potatoes? I cut a bunch of potatoes, okay? As you can see, I'm not even really draining or drying them, okay? And I'm just going to toss them around with the mustard dressing, the mustard. And how am I going to determine if I need to have more potatoes? I'm going to look at them. I'm looking at the potatoes, and I'm looking to see if there's a ton of mustard on each potato. Like, what does it actually look like? Could it use just a few more? And I actually think this could use just I'm showing you here, and this is a little bit mustardy still, and I think we could spread it out. So I have to admit, I have never made a full recipe that I gave you. I don't think I've ever made that, because the half recipe makes so much. So these are washed potatoes, and I'm just showing you, cutting them open. I cannot show you more about how beautiful these purple potatoes are. And you do want to have all the potatoes the same size. If for some reason you ran out of these fingerlings and suddenly you had to use a Yukon Gold and you had to use this potato, what would I do? I would still cut it in half. I would cut it probably into 3 pieces, and then I would probably just make it so it looked like it was the other potatoes, okay? That's just the idea. I'm just showing you that it doesn't matter, okay? People get so worried. I don't even like giving all of the recipes sometimes, because people think I have to follow that exact, and honestly, part of cooking is in being intuitive and learning from your mistakes, and also learning from your successes. So I say just get in there and do it, you know, and don't be worrying about things. So I have a very large sheet pan, okay? And this is a sheet pan, and what am I gonna use? My very favorite thing, I'm gonna use parchment paper. Okay, this brand, I love it. If you care, it's the brown parchment paper. Often you can find parchment paper that is white, and that is bleached, you know. It's like white flour is bleached as well. So this is the natural paper, okay? Honestly, I wouldn't, if I were out of this paper, I would just maybe not put anything in the oven, because without this paper, I'm lost, because this helps with cleanup. It helps in every aspect of your cooking. So as soon as this goes, I'm in trouble, because if I don't have a backup, I'm just not cooking. Okay, so these go, again, I'm not putting any oil, I'm not doing anything, and we're just gonna put these potatoes in this pan like this, and we're just going to spread them out. Now, of course, as I told you, they're all kind of sticking together, and you don't have to worry about putting them upside down or face up, because you're going to actually go in the oven periodically and just toss them, okay? But you do want them to be separated, okay? You don't want them sitting on top of each other, okay? That's ultimately, and I just want to show you this. And this is how this looks. And that is going in a very hot oven of 400 degrees. And I have to just change my temperature here just a little bit. And we're going to restart my finger here, and we're going to get this in the oven. So these potatoes are going to go with the tofu scramble. Okay, so we're almost done here. And we are on to the tofu scramble. And we have just a very few minutes for the tofu scramble. And I want to get this pan a little bit rinsed. And let's get this out. Okay, I will give credit where credit is due. This tofu scramble comes right from Lynn Diamond. She was the one that said, I found the best tofu scramble recipe. And how do I know I found the best one? Because my father ate it, and he didn't know that it wasn't eggs. I hope I've quoted her right, but that was when I decided that this was going to be my tofu scramble recipe too, and I wasn't going to go shopping around and looking for another one because this one is ideal. So what we're going to do is get out the tofu from the fridge. I do want to show you that I have a half a block of tofu already that has been squeezed and drained. I want to show you another thing. I guess I want to credit also Lynn for showing us this when she showed us the tofu scramble in a class once. This is a tofu express presser. Now, I'm not one of those people that say, oh, I have to have a gadget for everything, because I don't have room in my kitchen, nor do I like to have a million gadgets. And to just have a gadget just for one thing just didn't seem worth it to me. But once I used this gadget, I was sold. So I got one, and basically it's a press, okay? And I'm not gonna demonstrate it here for you. I kind of call it like a little torture machine, but you put a block of tofu in it, okay? And then you put this down, and then you twist it, okay? You do this twisting motion, and what happens is it immediately presses, like press. And I find that this thing takes the water rises to the top, and then you just drain the tofu, and the water just comes out. How do I know it's so successful? Because the first time I did it, I think I yielded about a cup of water, and I had never in my life seen that much water come out of the tofu, okay? So we are moving on, because how did I used to do it? I used to put a tofu, wrap it in paper towels, put a cast iron pan on, put a couple cans of tomatoes or whatever was weight, and then I hoped it was all balanced, and I hoped that it wasn't going to tip over, and eventually water came out. But now that I have this machine, I know that a ton of water comes out. So we are having this pan hot, and we have the spices for the tofu scramble right here, okay? And what are we putting in this tofu scramble? I'm making a half a recipe. We have a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. We have a half a teaspoon of onion powder. We have a fourth of a teaspoon of cumin. We have just a little bit of turmeric, and the turmeric is only for the color. And then we have a tablespoon and a half of nutritional yeast. Again, I'm making a half a recipe, okay? And then we also need to have some mustard, okay? Again, with the mustard, we are going to use a half of the recipe, and this is really what makes it, to tell you the truth, it's the mustard. So I'm taking a half a tablespoon, original recipe. And what I do, it doesn't tell you this in the original recipe, but I actually get a little bit of water, and I actually loosen that mustard up, because ultimately you need some water in this tofu, okay? And I make what I call a liquid, kind of a slurry, okay? Pan is hot. Yes, we should test the pan. Let's just see about this water. Pan is hot. We're gonna take this tofu, the block of tofu, and we're going to literally just put it into the pan, because ultimately it's going to break up, okay? There's just chunks right here, okay? Simple. We're gonna dump all this stuff. We're gonna also cook it for a few minutes because it needs to get warm, okay? We're going to put this spice on top, okay? And we're just going to put all of this spice here. Again, you could rearrange the way. This is my way. I tell you, if you asked other people how they made this exact same dish, maybe they would do it in a different order, but this is the way that I found works best for me. And we're going to get this mixed up really fast. And we're going to get the turmeric all mixed in. We're going to, because it's going to start to turn yellow. Right now it's just a shade of beige. But as we continue to mix, we actually will need some more water. The other thing that we have to do is get the vegetables cooking. Now, this last part is really up to you, okay? This last part, you can cook the vegetables in this very same pan. Right now, you say, okay, what do you want for in this scramble? You want onions, or you want mushrooms, or your favorite thing is spinach. At this point, you could just add it to here, okay? That is something you could do so it all stays in one pan, okay? But I'm one of those people that likes to have it done separately. And that means you're dirtying a separate pan. We're going to keep this cooking at a low heat for a minute. We're going to go back to this where I cooked this broccoli, still the same pan, and we're going to actually cook. I want to have some onions in it. I want to have some mushrooms in it. Okay, I want mushrooms, and I want to have some red peppers, okay? And I'm gonna work in some greens as well, ultimately. Okay, so this pan is getting hot, and I have a little bit of shallots that I just happen to have in my refrigerator. If you had white onions, use white onions. If you have scallions, use scallions. But again, I want onions, and you could definitely put it in this pan. But I'm gonna put the scallions over here. We're going to water saute those very quickly over here. Just cook them up. We're going to make sure that our tofu is not sticking. It's definitely thoroughly warmed. It's looking delicious. Okay, and we are going to get the mushrooms in there, and they're going to cook too really quickly. And I'm going to remind you how to slice the mushroom. Again, this is a not a washed mushroom. I use a paper towel just to clean the top. And you're just going to slice one side so it doesn't roll, and then you're going to just slice, okay? Again, you could chop it up however you want. Chop, 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 doesn't matter. It's just an omelet, okay? It's just an omelet, everybody. It's not. Okay, we have to get this cooked. Okay, this is cooking. This is ready. This omelet is ready. What else is going in? At this point, I'm cooking the mushrooms and the onions separately because they're a little brown juice is going to run off. I'm going to add the peppers to this, the red peppers. I have some orange and some red ones. Again, I'm always thinking about color. Okay. At this point, I also would put in any kind of greens that you have. You could use spinach, and I would put the spinach right into here. But today, I actually have some what are called pea shoots. They just are they taste just like peas. They look like this. They're very pretty. It's just something that I have in my fridge, and it's left, and it's pretty. And I'm just going to give it a rough chop. Okay. And that is going to go right in with the eggs as well. Okay, you see it's starting to look really good. Now these little greens cook down. So we're going to get this in there. Okay, we're going to get rid of those, and we're going to make sure that the mushrooms are getting cooked. You don't want to eat raw mushrooms. Okay, they are starting to cook. They're kind of slow. We don't need this cutting board any longer, and we are going to start to plate the food. And we are going to get out the potatoes. Now, the potatoes normally need a good 45 minutes, and if none of you have ever cooked a potato before for some reason, I don't know how you managed to do that, but if you haven't, you know, cut a potato is done when you put the fork in and it goes through smoothly and comes out smoothly. Okay, if it's hard, then it's not going to happen. Okay, these mushrooms are cooking along with the onions. They still need just a very few minutes. I'm going to give it a little, just a hair of broth, just a little bit. Get that. In the meantime, I'm going to get the potatoes out. And this is the magic of TV here is that we have the potatoes and they are done. Okay, so I did some in advance. So the tray that you saw went into the oven is still in the oven cooking, but these are now out of their oven and they are looking like this. I definitely tossed them several times while I was cooking them. They're hard, they're crunchy, they have a little crust. If you cut them open, they're really soft and squishy inside. They're very hot. I don't know, a little bit hot, but good. But good. Uh, these mushrooms are nearly done. Again, if you're a kind of person that hates cleanup and you just want to cook every single thing in the one time, do that. It's me that likes to have this mushrooms and onions separately. So if any brown juice is in there, and now there is no juice actually, it's actually quite perfect. I'm turning this off. I'm dumping all these mushrooms into this pan. Now, this is enough. This is a half a recipe. And I tell you, I probably could eat the whole thing by myself, honestly, but I don't, okay? And how do I serve this? I'm going to, take a big scoop of it and put it here. And again, here, like that. And then we're going to just put this on the side. Can you eat this the next day? If you're a single person and you've made this much, this warms up just perfectly. You could absolutely eat it tomorrow. And honestly, I often cook way too much food for just me, and I end up eating something the day after and the day after. This can cook. And then we're just gonna take some of these potatoes and we're gonna just put them on the plate there. And we are going to finish up and get time for your questions. What else I just want to tell you, in this particular plate, this is how this looks. We have the mustard potatoes, we have the tofu scramble, and you could put salsa if you wanted. You could put some black beans or some kind of beans if you wanted. And remember, we did our earlier dish of herbed pancakes with roasted tomatoes, arugula, beets, and broccoli. So we are finished with today's demo. Those of you who might be having a special Mother's Day next week, or just making yourself a special day, I feel like every time I sit down to cook, it's a special day, and I make it look as pretty as possible, whether I'm cooking for myself or somebody else. And I want you to just always keep in mind that presentation is important. Take your questions now, and then we wrap it all up.
Beautiful, Carole. That looks absolutely delicious and colorful. And I love that you've gotten all the super immunity foods of the onions and the mushrooms and the greens and vegetables. And it just looks fabulous. Couple questions. One from Jessica. If you do not have chickpea flour, can you use mashed chickpeas?
I don't think you could try. It's something I actually don't have the answer to that, because the recipe is really truly using chickpea flour. You could try to use mash. I would get them, if you're taking them out of the can, make sure they're really cooked, and then I would probably make sure they're that they have a good consistency, and you could try it. Actually, you could try it. You could definitely try it. I can't say that I've ever done it, because the recipe is so specific for chickpea flour. And I would not, during any time, sending you all out, as we know, things are really hard to find these days. Even the most simple thing, whether it's yeast or flour, is very hard to find. But most grocery stores, especially those Bob Red Mill packages, they do have chickpea flour. It is more common than you realize.
Great, beautiful, thank you. A question from Dana. Can you use a Silpat instead of parchment paper?
Yes, you definitely can use a Silpat. Absolutely, absolutely. I used to own one a long time ago. I got rid of it because it was in my days of cooking with oil, and it frustrated me because I maybe would have sprayed it with oil a couple times. But I think a Silpat, if you're not using any oil when you're cooking, I think is a great substitute for Parchment and a very easy cleanup.
Gorgeous. And then Mitch asks if you have any recommendations or favorite hot sauces. So
oh, I do. I actually really do. That is, I mean, don't get me started, actually. I have two that I use, well, three. I'm actually, first of all, hot sauce. If you went to the Tangine class, I told you about harissa. Harissa is used a lot by Moroccans, and it's a hot sauce. And this one is, you can make harissa from dried spices, or cayenne and cumin, and you can make your own dry powder. This one is just in a tube, and it has a little bit of oil, but it is my go-to. This is the common Cholula, a common brand. I use this for kind of generic things, and then I'm in love, literally in love, with this. It's called Arizona Peppers Organic Harvest Foods. This is habanero pepper sauce. And this I absolutely love, and is a very common thing. Where did I find this? I found it in the Health Nuts. If you're living in New York, I found it in the health food store. So it comes in different, levels of flavor, and this one is habanero, and I absolutely love it. But it is hot, 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 and would be delicious on this. Actually, this would be delicious on the scramble, right? Because I told you could put salsa with it. A lot of people put ketchup on eggs. Salsa is good with the scramble, but this also delicious on the pancake. Delicious.
can you read the brand name again? Arizona.
I can. It's Arizona Peppers. Arizona Peppers, Organic Harvest Foods, and then it's habanero pepper sauce, and it's it's gluten free. It says it's non-GMO. It has all the right things. It was $4.60, and it's this bottle here. I'll just try to show you all as close as possible.
Great. And if you want to hold up the other two as well.
Sure. This one is just a common hot sauce. This one is this here, and then this is harissa. Yeah. Harissa, this is like a $2 tube, $2.50. Looks like toothpaste. Squeeze it from the bottom, squeeze a little bit out, delicious hot sauce. This one I haven't even opened yet, but I don't know. I another thing I don't live without in my kitchen. I love harissa. It's like a pal.
Anyone else want to throw questions into the chat? We have a few minutes. I don't see anything more. So Carole, thank you so much.
It. No questions after that? Fantastic.
I love these. Look great, actually, for a lovely Mother's Day brunch or even a dinner.
Oh my God, this could be breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I should really emphasize that, for those of you that really like sometimes to eat your breakfast at dinner time, which, it's not embarrassing to say that. I do it. I've eaten oatmeal at dinner. So this kind of food is definitely breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And please, if you've never had a savory breakfast, I encourage you to do it, because there's something about putting vegetables in your body the very first thing in the morning gives you a lot of energy. And I tend to notice how I feel during the day when I've started my day with green vegetables, opposed to even eating just oatmeal or, another breakfast that has more carbs in it. Eating vegetables the beginning is a good way to start.
And can you freeze the pancakes?
You probably can. Yes, I'm guessing you can. I can never. Are you kidding? I make 8 pancakes, and I'm lucky I get, 4, few of them to the refrigerator, because it's very hard to not consume eating them while you're actually making them. So it's kind of like when I'm making tortillas. It's one of those things where you hope you have something for the refrigerator, because I don't know. I'm obsessed with every kind of flatbread possible, and these little pancakes are a flatbread, and you can just eat those with a green salad. I mean, they're delicious, and again, they're so flexible, and if you just remember, it's 1 cup water to 1 cup flour. Easy recipe.
And the herbs you put in some.
And the herbs, I put in 1 cup, but you don't have to put in 1 cup. You could put in a 1/2 cup. It doesn't matter if you only wanted cilantro in it. You could put cilantro. I used 1/3 of a cup of 3 different things to make 1 cup.
Beautiful. So, okay, we're gonna wrap up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And can I just remind people, Wendy, sorry to interrupt, but remind everyone that we're skipping next Sunday for the demos because it is Mother's Day, but we're back on with more demos on, I believe that's the 17th and the 24th. Correct. At 3 o'clock, the same time. And I really love when you all comment and you continue to come, because it makes me feel like we're all in this together and that we're learning and I'm sharing at the same time. I love it. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And if you want to follow me during the week, I'm constantly posting on Instagram all the time on Carole Foods, Carole Foods, Foods, and I'm always posting. So if for some reason you just want to say, what's Carole making? I used to have a friend that would call me every day saying, tell me what you're doing so I know. And I'm developing a relationship like that with Judy these days, actually. I tell her what I'm making, and hi, Judy, I can see that you're probably there. I see a little thumbnail of possibly your head, but the fact is that it's nice to share. It's really, and especially, I am telling you these days when we're not seeing each other all the time, and just to text someone and say, hey, I'm eating this. Hey, I'm making this. You know, that is inspiring, and that's what we're doing here. So I really encourage that connection, because that's why we all sit down at a table, is to connect and to have community.
Absolutely. Yep. And for anyone who hasn't seen Carole's Instagram, the pictures are just beautiful. So I do encourage you to go to her Instagram page. So again, this is an ongoing web series offered by Plant Powered Metro New York. Come back May 17th at 3, as Carole mentioned, May 24th at 3. We're also going to be adding new programs every week, so check the calendar on our website, and we also have a group meetup, and come join us for future events as well. And if you aren't already on our mailing list, please sign up on our website and also join us on Facebook and Instagram, where we have active communities posting information and engaging with one another every day. I believe Lynn may have just posted the addresses in the chat box, although I don't actually see them. Okay, so come and just check the website. Oh, did you?
I did. It's
oh, I see them. Yep, I see them. Sorry about that. So there are the addresses. Beautiful. And just a reminder, tomorrow night, May 4th, we have the eminent Neil Barnard coming to speak. So please sign up. There's a number of real activism, urgent issues going on in New York City, where we're trying to get the governor to close down the wet markets in New York. For those who are not aware, New York and California still have open wet markets. So we're trying to pass a bill on that. So come join us tomorrow night. And Carole, thanks for making this so delicious and beautiful.
And thank you everyone so much, and have a good week. And I look forward to seeing all of you again. And thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it. And thank you for joining me, and thank you for feeling inspired, and share with me if you'd like. Lynn or Wendy can forward an email if you need to get in touch with me for a particular question that you have. I am always answering texts and things. People write to me, help, I made this and I don't know what to do, or, you know, just I'm a good resource, and I'm happy to be that person. So thank you again.
Jessica said that's the first scrambled tofu she's ever wanted to eat.
Well, as I said, I don't take credit for it. We have Lynn's father to thank for saying that it was so good that he didn't know that it was not a scrambled egg. And honestly,
credit where credit is due. I got the recipe from the Happy Herbivore.
Right, and the recipe that you all get, you know, as a we send out the recipes. It lists where the original recipe comes from on the recipe that I typed up for you all. So you all have that, so you know the source. I make up a lot of my own recipes, but I actually also find recipes, and I either like the Rosie from the spa, Oprah Winfrey's years ago, her book from 1994. Those mustard potatoes I've been making since 1994. So they're delicious, and you know, I'm here to help share my wealth and my knowledge of, because it's something I do all the time, is just looking for recipes and reading and sharing.
Thanks, Carole.
Thank you so much, Carole.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good week, everyone. Thank you.